Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Lead-In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO Lead-In. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. Today, we are here with Jessica Cvetic from Citrus Aesthetics. How are you today, Jessica?
I'm doing wonderful. So happy and honored to be here and to be able to chat with you more.
Well, I'm excited to find out more about you outside of your career. Maybe you could share a fun story about your childhood that you'd like to share to our listeners today?
That is a really good question. I have so many amazing stories. I was raised by my mom, who's an amazing woman, a single mom. She came from the Netherlands, and she moved with 5 of us to the U.S. We grew up in Michigan, and one particular story that comes to mind is when I turned 10. We drove up to the Upper Peninsula and middle of winter in January, and we have a conversion van with all of us and about 5 of our dogs. You can imagine the scene, and there was snow planned for the trip, so we planned to be outside playing in the snow. We had this small little cabin, which was such a huge treat for us. And my older siblings, I'm the youngest of 5, my older siblings and my mom decided that they would hide my birthday presents outside so I could find them the next morning. And this huge snowstorm came in that night. And so
oh my goodness.
The next morning, I'm all excited, just turned 10, and they want to surprise me with finding my presents. And I don't know that we ever found any of them.
I was just wondering, did they remember where they put them? And
I literally don't remember finding any of
goodness.
them. Yeah, I just remember the hilariousness of the story and their surprise. And I wasn't even sad about it, honestly. It was just this hilarious story.
Oh my gosh. Well, and inches of snow. I mean, I can't even imagine the scene. 5 kids out there and 5 dogs trying to find everything, just tromping around in the snow.
Exactly.
But, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you. So you know yourself. I think many people do a lot of searching of who they are and all that. What word do you think describes you the best?
I would say the word that describes me the best, and this is mostly coming from people I've interacted with, worked with, crossed paths with, in both friendships and in my career, is genuine. And this is the biggest compliment anyone could ever give to me. I think the word genuine is so true, so real, and there's a certain air that is something that I just am not, which is superficial or, just on the surface. I dive into everything that I do and everything that I am and all my friendships and relationships, and that includes my business of Citrus. I am genuinely passionate. I'm genuinely involved and compassionate, and that really has helped me to become who I am, because when you create genuine relationships with people, everything else flows from there. So it's helped me to maintain a beautiful marriage of 15 years. I wouldn't be the person I am and have reached the potential if it wasn't for my husband. It has helped me to genuinely create mentorships with people because they've seen the potential in me and my genuinity and what I'm doing. So I would say the word genuine really, really most realistically sums up who I am.
Well, I think too, being genuine creates a culture and all around you. And so at your business, Citrus, tell me what does that look like? I mean, what are the kind of the goals that you have and all of that? Why don't you explain what a work day looks like for you?
So a workday at Citrus is so multifaceted. It's a roller coaster ride from morning to the end of the day. I'm a working mom and business owner, so my day really starts with my two daughters, Melody and Sedona, and helping them to get ready for school alongside with my husband. And Sedona actually is the one that brought me onto the show. So she is.
Wait, share that story with us. I see there's something behind that.
Well, both of my girls are, as any mom would say about their daughters, they're incredible, and it's just so amazing to see them blooming and who they are. But my youngest, Sedona, she's 5 years old, and she is just the light of every party. So we were just out on a mom-daughter date together, and we're at a beautiful little restaurant. I highly recommend it. It's called Carbon in South Park, a beautiful infusion of different eclectic type of foods. And she came across these two really kind gentlemen that were sitting and eating, and she decided that it would be more fun to go and sit with them and chat with them. And so she created this like really beautiful and spontaneous, genuine interaction and moment. And so Charles was one of the people there, and he began to really, he was just interacting with my daughter at first, and then I came over, and he asked about who I am and what I do. And when I told him I'm a business owner of Citrus and a female entrepreneur, he immediately got so excited and asked me to be on this show, on this podcast. And so I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my 5-year-old being the little spark and light that she is. So
that's so fun. I think we learn a lot from our kids. I think they still, even though they're young, as they even get older, I think there are a lot of things that we can still learn from them.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So how long have you, tell us a little bit about your journey when you opened the business and kind of how you got to do that, because it really is. I mean, when you start a business and you're in charge, it really is very different than when you're working for someone else. And kind of talk a little bit about that.
Definitely. So my background is as an emergency medicine PA, and I had a mentor in the ER, and he really helped guide me in my whole career as a physician associate, and really saw a lot in me, pushed me to my maximum potential. I worked in a small rural ER and was doing a lot of laceration repairs. And I still remember, because I did my clinical rotation with him, the description of me that he used on my review was appropriately aggressive, which was another huge compliment to me. And so he saw the skill and the finite tediousness with which I did laceration repairs. And he said, Jess, you should really think about getting into aesthetic medicine. You have a really unique skill set. And so he actually pushed me to start getting trained in aesthetic medicine. And from there, I started working part-time for other med spas and felt a huge constraint with building those genuine client relationships because of a time difference that I was given. So when you're given a small amount of time to both practice aesthetic medicine safely and try to educate clients on the options they have so they're empowered with their decisions and options, and also a lack of time to be able to really build those strong connections, I really felt hindered with what I could do. And so I realized there's another way to do this. And so I didn't really know it was a possibility to be able to, open all of the parameters that go into opening up a medical practice and a medical aesthetics clinic. But I set my mind to it because I wanted to change the way of aesthetic medicine. I knew there was a better way that ultimately prioritized clients and their education and their comfort as well that goes into aesthetic treatments, because there can be a lot of uncertainty and questions that goes into that. And so I really built Citrus out of that foundation of wanting to change the implementation approach and also the outcome that comes. So, now I have a very well-established clientele who who just really know what they're coming for, which is both safe aesthetic treatments, empowerment, building their confidence through aesthetic treatments, but also knowing each and every time they know who their provider is, and we build on that. I really build such strong relationships and friendships and connections with my clients. And at the end of the day, isn't that what everyone craves is trust with other people and a feeling of belonging, and feeling that when you are surrounded by a certain person or doing something, you feel uplifted, more confident. And that is literally what I gift to people every day. And that could not make me any happier.
You gift it to people. Now that's a really interesting way of putting that. I love that. It seems very focused on the person and then what you're being able to provide them, which is, I think everyone, when they go to a doctor's office, they feel very rushed. They feel like it's, in and out. They're not really taking the time. And a lot of it, you're right, is because they just don't have the time because they're overbooked or whatever. And so I love that you're looking at it from a totally different perspective, because I've actually never even heard anyone in the medical field talk, anything about all of this. So let's talk a little bit about specifically your field. How do you measure success?
Success is something that, when pertaining to aesthetic medicine, it's I would say a fairly new field of aesthetic medicine. So it's constantly evolving. Anything in medicine really is. So I would say success is measured by a person continually seeking continuing education. Because at the end of the day, when you train with other people who are at the top of whatever that field is that you're in, you start to gain these techniques and these insights and these experiences, then you then are able to put in your own toolbox. So for me, when I opened up Citrus, I really set my mind to, if I want to be the best in the field of aesthetic medicine, I need to train with the best. And so I sought out these trainers and these role models who helped me to become the aesthetic provider that I am today. And so those people helped mold me in a way to become successful. I think that mentorship is key in allowing me to really become the best possible person as far as giving natural results, as well as a full understanding of anatomy, which is very important to understand. And each person also gifts me a little bit of their bedside manner and a little bit of how they interact with people. So I have them to thank as far as who I've become as a provider and a business owner at Citrus.
Well, I think too, when you talked a little bit about bedside manner, sometimes you can also learn things from people and you go, oh,
absolutely.
That is definitely not how I want someone to feel because I felt a certain way. I think even sometimes negative experiences can shape who we are and how we serve other people.
100%, right? Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you. Mentioned you have your daughters. How do you balance your responsibilities with home and work? And do you ever really feel like you actually do a good job at that? Because I know when my kids were younger, I was like, I am failing miserably. And then there were times where I was thinking, oh gosh, I'm doing such a great job. What are your experiences with that?
It is always a struggle.
Yeah, I think it is.
It is always a struggle to balance life. Really, there's this facade that I try to chase, and I know many other people do, of work-life balance. And I do feel like I am definitely able to contribute and able to be there for my daughters, but it's a constant effort of figuring out. There has been such a sacrifice that I've been able to make, and I've questioned, am I doing the right thing by building this business that impacts other people so positively? Is the negative impact on the lack of the time and the energy that I've had to be able to invest in my kids, is that worth it? And I've broken down in tears questioning that.
I was wondering,
so many times. At the end of the day, again, Citrus would not be a reality if I didn't have the support of my husband, of friends, of family who are like my community, right? I know that my daughters see the skills, the unending perseverance and dedication that I have, and that will build such a strong foundation for them in their future. They are 100% going to be leaders in whatever they do. My oldest daughter, Melody, she already says, I'm going to Oxford and I'm going to be a lawyer, and she's going to make a damn good one because she's already my manager. She already, I swear, has more insight than me in some just general social concepts. So I know that those skills that I exemplify are going to positively impact them. But first year of Citrus being open, I was not there like I would have wanted to be there. Yeah. The sacrifice is real, and that still gets me emotional thinking, is this worth it? But I know they're going to be just fine, and I know they'll benefit in other positive ways of seeing what their mom did and what they learned from me in other ways.
But I think that's also a season. I mean, I think our kids are resilient in the fact that, they see you persevering and you actually get something done. I think also the part of sometimes, you have a season. You're going to have to work really hard right now, and then you get to slow down a bit. Work hard, slow down a bit. I mean, that's kind of like a cycle. I think that's important for kids to understand because think about finals in school. Yeah. You've got to cram. You've got to really be 100% engaged. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to fail. Yeah. And so I think, these are life lessons that, not everyone wants to show their kids, that try to hide it from their kids. I'm more of the thought of, you know what? Talk about your struggles. Talk about those things. Absolutely. And the fact that you're already doing it. And so what year did you start Citrus?
August of 2022. Okay.
All right. So you're kind of like coming up on your second anniversary.
Yeah. And now relating to what you're saying, I put in that initial just constant grind and grit. Yeah. And now I'm getting to a point where I'm continuing to make strides in my next steps of franchising Citrus, which is going to be a commitment in a different kind of way. However, I have the ability now where I can focus and I can commit separate time to them. So it's really, like you said, these ebbs and flows of both the business and in life where again, it's always a struggle, but I'm finding more of that work-life balance. And when I'm at work, I'm committing to that, but I also really striving to, when I'm with them, trying to commit fully to them, which is, I still think, nearly impossible. You cannot, as an entrepreneur, balance in a way where you separate fully, but you can. It does end up paying off where you find more of that balance.
So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, and that is role models and mentors. How did that look for you? I mean, you kind of mentioned, did you do internships? How did that look for you?
That's a good question. So aesthetic medicine is a newer field. So it's really seeking out trainings. And so I was able to train with some of the best injectors who are renowned nationally and internationally. So some really incredibly skilled people like Julie Horn specifically. I tried getting in trainings with her for a long time. She's based in Switzerland. And so seeking out someone like that, it again takes a lot of commitment and sacrifice and an initial investment into that training. But that elevated me to a different level in just that expertise of a lip filler technique to be able to give really beautiful natural results. Other people in the fields of who are trained in thread lifts, which is a non-surgical procedure. I've had the opportunity to train with Dr. Gideon Kwok and Dr. Sai, who really are phenomenal providers in being able to implement that type of a technique. Other people I've trained with are Bonnie Wright and Dr. Amanda Holden and Katie Martin. All of these people really, there's not a foundational setup of who to train with or where or when or some specific university, but trying to implement and take that time to be able to get that experience and that training is something that will benefit any aesthetic medicine provider or any nurse that isn't even in aesthetics or NP or PA or even physician. Seeking those trainings out is really what's going to elevate you and your training skills.
So let's talk a little bit about just the industry and, what you've experienced, do you think that it is opening and inviting, or do you think there are moments where you go, oh gosh, there's judgment? Because I think beauty is something that is very different to each one of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I think beauty, a lot of it comes from within.
Absolutely.
But then you can enhance what you have on the outside.
Definitely.
But, nobody has the same body type. Nobody has the same everything. And I think that's a beautiful thing about community, is that we're all a little bit different. And so tell me what, how the influences of other people and the industry in itself really shapes that for you.
So I have felt that the community around me and people I've sought out have been extremely open to sharing what they know. That says everything for me. I had one specific PA also, Katie Martin, who my first training with her, she said, prioritize collaboration over competition. There is no reason, if I have a med spa and there's a med spa down the road, there's no reason for us to compete, because there are plenty of people interested in wanting to feel better and look better. And as long as we collaborate as a community of aesthetic providers, we can all learn something from each other and provide safer and more natural results to all of our clients. So I would say I have heard many other people come to me concerned because they feel that there's a competition between people. When you surround yourself with the right people, or seek out those people who are willing to share, and then, because karma is so impactful, when you gain that knowledge and you gift it back to others, once you have the experience and the skills to be able to do that, that's where we start to elevate the whole field of aesthetic medicine. So the more people that do that, the more positive of a general stigma aesthetics will have as well, because we are working against these kind of fake results or poorly achieved results. When we all train each other and lift each other up, we'll lose that stigma as well. So collaboration over competition is really what I live by at Citrus in everything that I really do.
So when you look at, I mean, just the industry, I think it is continuing to grow, because as we get older and we're living longer, there's a lot of things. We get wrinkles. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of, we lose our laxicity in our skin and all of that. What do you think that most people come to you for? Is it really age, or is it because they're just don't feel beautiful? I just wonder the mental part of that.
There is such a psychological aspect of what it is that I'm addressing at Citrus, what any aesthetic provider is addressing. And when you miss the mark on that as an aesthetic provider, of one brilliant mentor of mine, Dr. Tim Pierce, who's based in the UK, he really taught me in try to find the why of why a client is there. Because as we age, we see these physical markers and these changes that happen to us, and it can be really frustrating or even sad, or it can impact our confidence level in our interactions with people. And at the end of the day, everybody has a different story of why or how their aging process affects them. So what I'm doing is taking something out of my toolbox, utilizing that to specifically address a client's goal. I never tell a client, I think you should do this, or I think we need to do this. It's always a conversation of what are your goals or what's bothering you, and figuring out why. And then what safe aesthetic treatment do I have that can benefit them? And before we've even had results of a treatment, they're already impacted in a positive psychological way, because there's hope that whatever that why is, that there is something that can help them in that. So I've seen my clients go from kind of this lack of confidence walking in, shoulders slouched, head down, not wanting to make eye contact, really just like sad. And the power, this word of gifting again, the power of gifting back that confidence to people in the way that I approach them, and then utilize the aesthetic treatments as well, is the most fulfilling thing to me. And so it's really, like you mentioned, addressing the psychological aspect of why do I feel like this is bothering me, and then helping them to feel and look their best. But the feel comes before the look.
So this is going to be really seeming maybe off base, but my question, a lot of people are on social media. They look at it. There's a lot of airbrushing going on. How much do you think that plays into how we feel about ourselves?
I think it's so detrimental and
I
so
agree.
impactful. It's really something that we have to work against. I don't know the solution, but I know that it's really detrimental. It's detrimental starting in early teenage years. And it's really impactful because it's very deceiving. And how do you accept yourself for who you are if you see very false deceptions of the aging process and of celebrities and things? So I would say that's really important to me when I do show befores and afters of my work, to be as realistic as possible. I am no professional photographer, and I am a bootstrapping type of business. And so I do not have a professional photographer on board at
Which
Citrus.
is good because it's authentic and it's real. And I think that is important. I think that well, it used to be, it would be like the grocery store. We would see the magazines at the checkout, and that would be, oh gosh, look at how great that model looks. And then you go home and you look in the mirror and you're like, darn, I'm not even close to that. But now it's so much a higher level because it's literally everywhere we look. All over social media, everyone's just they have these pictures that are not real.
Exactly.
I just wonder what it's doing to our psyche. I mean, that could be like probably a 10-hour conversation.
It could be. No, but you brought up a really important point, because that does, like, a lot of my business is trying to showcase befores and afters. And if it's not depicted realistically, that can be so deceiving. And one of my core values at Citrus is integrity. So it stems from starting off having integrity with what I can realistically achieve. So I always aim to be as realistic as possible. And a lot of my clients who will kind of see me on my social media or befores and afters, they're always, when they then come and see me, they're reassured because I look like the same exact person that they see on my social media. So when that trust is started and going against the grain in not being deceiving at all, that's very helpful.
Do you ever have someone come in and then you think, oh gosh, I don't think they should go that drastic? Have you ever talked someone out of...
Yes.
You actually strike me as someone that would do that on a pretty regular basis.
Absolutely. That is one of my, I would say it pertains to two of my core values, which is integrity and natural results. But I will say that is the most difficult conversations that I have, because there's unfortunately a lot of body dysmorphia that is entangled in aesthetic medicine when people just they're searching to feel better, and the solution isn't being given to them by the procedures they're getting done. And I really try to come to the root of what their why is, and it's all about gently talking about why it wouldn't be in their best interest or their safest interest, but it's all about the conversation. I have to first build their trust before I ever am capable of telling them no. And it's not always successful, but I try to aim for them realizing that if we were to move forward with this procedure, at the end of the day, it wouldn't accentuate their natural beauty. It wouldn't address the aging process in a positive way. And so I do say a lot of no's to clients. And I think that if we build that in the aesthetic community, that it is okay to tell a client no, because at the end of the day, I do not want a person's money if it's going to make them look worse, if it's not going to be natural if it's not going to, if it's going to turn people's eyes on them questioning, what did you do, in a negative kind of way. I always tell my clients, I want to try to get you natural, subtle, but impactful results. And so it's the hardest conversations I have to say no, but I do it whenever it's necessary.
So I'm actually sitting here thinking this is the most unexpected part of the conversation, and that is, you're basically into aesthetics, but it's such a bigger picture that you have going into this, because it's also about the emotional support and the emotional part of trying to help someone. You're almost like a counselor in a way.
Absolutely.
I would say you're like a counselor saying, okay, we're a team, and this is what you want, and this is how I think we're going to get there.
Yeah, it is a combination of so many skills, and it's matching the skills in just the right way. This is the exciting thing for me, because I've really kind of tapped into exactly what you're saying, that if you do not bring in those skills of the human connection and the counseling and the nurturing and the figuring out why, then you can never get to the point of even treating and doing aesthetic procedures properly. So then it's that combination of what we talked about before, making sure to be trained properly, making sure that you have the capability of full anatomical understanding, how much to place, and then also a really good aesthetic eye. And that's also what I'm looking to spread in the aesthetic community. Just like other people have influenced me, I want to try to influence other providers, whether they're currently in aesthetic medicine or coming from a different field and looking into aesthetics. I want to try to gift them with all of those multitude of skills to be able to be optimal aesthetic providers.
So you started out taking the time and providing the skill in aesthetics in stitching basically someone up at the ER. So you walk into a room of young women that want to become leaders. What would your advice to them be? Things that you've learned and skills that you've learned, what would your advice to them be?
My advice would be that success comes in small baby steps. It is such a grind and grit, and it's a commitment like nothing else. You have to be okay with having failures. You have to understand that you'll have thousands of mistakes made, and mentally be prepared and okay with that before you start making successes. And if you really mentally prepare for being okay with being someone who over and over you're slammed with the next problem and the next problem and the next problem, and it never gets easier, but mentally you're okay with that. And it's a skill of being able to overcome a lot in order to get to your end goal. That's probably one of the biggest things. And then I kind of spoke to this earlier, but also that you are created and you are capable in your business or whatever it is that you want to set your mind to because of the people that you surround yourself with. It is surround yourself with people who lift you up, who inspire you, who are open to teach you. And then again, because karma is such a beautiful and circular thing, when then you can give that back, do that, asking nothing in return. Just go and be a mentor to the next person looking to get into whatever your career. In my case, I started a citrus training academy because I realized that I wanted to give more of those resources that I was struggling to find when I first started out. And so now I take on nurses and NPs and PAs and physicians who are looking to also become solo providers because I have that capacity now and I want to give it back. So always continue that circle.
I love that.
Thank you.
Jessica, what a fabulous discussion and very unexpected, to be honest. I mean, I really am walking away from this a little surprised just because it is I mean, it's just totally unexpected.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate the conversation and the time. And just look forward to seeing what you're doing next. So I love that you're actually already kind of paying it forward and, started the academy, training other providers to help them find what their path might be to do some of the same things.
Thank you so much for having me, Rebecca. It's been an honor and such a lovely conversation, and I can't wait to continue to learn about you as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learned how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host Rebecca Jones.